Good morning, Hojo staff, students, and families. It's time to start our day. Yaateyabena. Please stand. Place your right hand up on your head. If you have a hat or a hood, take it off. Place your right hand over your heart. Voices are off. Bodies are still. Standing respectfully. And we recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, April 17th, and we are ready to start our day with some announcements. And so let's start with some music. So all week we've been practicing a new piece, listening to a new piece, and hopefully you've listened to the whole thing. Usually when we have our announcements in the morning, we're playing this music before we start our assembly, but unfortunately it's difficult to do that on a video. I would just have to sit here for the time, and that would be awkward and weird for me to do. So I'm trusting that you are listening to this piece on your own, as well as all the others we have posted, and are practicing identifying the piece of music when you hear it and the composer. So this week's piece, I'm going to start to play it, and you tell me who we're listening to and what the name of the piece is. Okay, friends, tell me the composer. Vivaldi, that's right. And the name of this piece? From the Four Seasons, it is Spring. And it's much different than Vivaldi's Winter, right? And we still have some pieces from that same selection that we haven't listened to yet. So if we've listened to Spring and we've listened to Winter, what do we have left? Summer and Fall, that's right. So there's two more selections. You could even get a head start and take a look at those. Google them, pull them up on YouTube, and listen to them ahead of time. Eventually, one day, we'll include them. Okay, so let's try another piece, and I'm gonna see if I can play it in the middle. It's probably gonna start. Oh, okay, let me slide that over. Hopefully you didn't hear that very beginning. Okay. Okay, friends, I played a selection from the middle instead of from the beginning. We want to be able to identify music that we hear. We're not always going to hear it playing from the very beginning. You may step into an elevator. You may be in a museum. You may go to a concert. You may hear a commercial on TV, or in some other place you might be hearing, turn the radio on, and you may hear a selection in the middle as opposed to the beginning. And we want to be able to identify the music when we hear it, not just from the beginning. So what were we listening to? Clair de Lune. All right, even if you didn't guess Clair de Lune, who was the composer of Clair de Lune? Claude Debussy. Nice job. All right, friends. All right, for art, so we're going to take a walk back here, back behind me, Against the Wall. This is the last day we're going to review this one, and then it goes in our selection to pull up from time to time to remind you. So what is the name of that piece? Lumineers is right. And the name of the artist? Jean-Francois Millet. Nice job. Okay, for poetry, we have been listening to one selection for the whole week almost. We've been practicing. So Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's Paul Revere's Ride, and remember it starts with "Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere." On the 18th of April in 75, remember? So in 75, when he's talking about 75, he means 1775. And he was writing this 100 years later, or just shy of 100 years later, right around the time of the start of the Civil War. And we talked about why that might be, right? Why it might be that somebody would be thinking about all the things that unite us, all the things that make us American, and that Longfellow was writing this poem at a time when our country was becoming divided. And so this was his poem to help remind people where we all came from and what we've done to get where we are at that point. And so we've talked about how Paul Revere asked his friend to go to, in Boston, to go to the Old North Church and to climb up to the top of the tower. And all the pigeons, remember that section where all the pigeons were running around? And he said, if you notice that the British are going to be striking, or he wouldn't have said the British because everybody was British back then, but he would have said that the Redcoats, or he would have had another term probably for that, the British Army was going to be attacking the American colonists. If they were going to be coming by land, he was to hang up how many lights? 1. And if they were coming by sea, if he noticed that they were getting on their boats, it would be 2. 1 if by land and 2 if by sea. And do you remember what he put up there in the belfry? 2, that's right. And so there was Paul Revere across the river, the Charlestown River, and waiting for the signal. And he's impatient and he's stomping around and moving things and keeps looking. You know how it is when you're feeling like you're waiting for something really important. And he was given the signal and then took off, charging through the neighborhoods, calling people up to become armed because the British were going to be attacking. And so he got as far, he went over the bridge into Medford, and then he was in Lexington, and by then it was midnight. And these are places that we are going to go. In Lexington, and today we're going to hear about, he goes to Concord, and there's a park, a national park, Minuteman Park, in Lexington and Concord. And Concord's a very important town in Massachusetts for as far as history and literature go. And we'll go there because you can go to the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. You can see this Minuteman Park, where, do you know that battles took place on these wide open areas, and people from both sides kind of just marched towards each other, and then they had these battles kind of across from each other, and they fired musket balls. So you're going to hear in the poem that they're going to talk about balls from the muskets. Instead of saying the word bullets, when you hear the word balls, it's a musket ball from a gun. No, they don't use words bullets because bullets came around much later. So, but there's a house right up from the battlefield of Lexington and Concord. And in the window, you can look out and see where the people who lived in that house would have watched this battle take place. And one of the residents of that house had taken off her diamond ring. And you know, diamond's the hardest substance. So she took it and she carved into the window what she was observing. And it is still there. And you can go and see all her words that she wrote as she was watching the battle take place at Lexington and Concord. And that's pretty interesting to see. So we will go there one day. So we have the last 3 stanzas of Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown. And one was safe and asleep in bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know the rest in the books you've read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo evermore. For borne on the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will awaken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofs of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere. And so there's an image here that Henry Wadsworth Longfellow says that people died at this battlefield. And when he was crossing over to warn people about this battle, he was thinking that there's somebody asleep in bed right now who is going to die on this battlefield today. And that's kind of a hard thing to think about. People did really sacrifice for us to have our freedom and for us to be here today. And so this is sort of a call for the people from the 1850s when Longfellow was writing this poem at the time of the Civil War, to say, don't you remember that we're all united? Don't you remember that we're one country? And that was sort of his call to remind us. And one day it may happen again. One day it may be that we have to remind ourselves again that we all have the same background and have come from the same place, and that we're all one country. All right, and speaking of that, the Declaration of Independence. So let's say it all together. Okay, friends, and say it with me, please. I don't want to be doing this by myself. All right. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundations in such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Nice job, everybody. Thank you for doing that with me. All right, we do have some birthdays to announce today. We have 2 birthdays today. Matthias and Avi having birthdays today. Gentlemen, have a great day. And tomorrow, Sam is having a birthday. Sam in Mr. Green's room. And Oliver, Mrs. Noseroom's having a birthday. Have a great day, gentlemen. Another gentleman having a birthday on Sunday, Omar from Mr. Burke's class. So I hope you have a great day, all of you. So for the readathon, like we said, we have some new prize levels. So 1,500, let me get my list here to make sure I say it correctly. All right. Here we go, hopefully this is it. 1,500 for a patriotic pencil and eraser. The pencils are here, erasers are still on the way. Art or science kit if you have read 3,000 minutes by May 22nd. And so like I have been showing you, we have the chemistry one here, our little science kit, but we do have some art kits on their way, and a couple of them have arrived. So once you've gotten to 3,000, at some point we'll make an announcement of how we're going to get you these prizes. Perhaps we'll put them all in a little bag and you can come pick them up, but people are going to be earning them for the next few weeks anyway. 5,000 minutes, cinch bag coming your way for 5,000 minutes. 7,000, you get to have your own decal for your car window to share with your family or to put on a notebook perhaps. 10,000 minutes, you have a decal. I'm sorry, that's 7,000. 10,000 is a t-shirt. Hojo Wolves t-shirt. And for 12,000 minutes, a tablet, and our top 5 readers will get a special prize that we will announce later. Keep up the good work with all of the reading that you're doing and doing your best with working on your schoolwork, not giving your parents a hard time about it, doing your very best. Don't ask them if you know the answer to the question. I bet you that's happening a little bit around here, where you just, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do that. You know. So I want you to make sure that you are not giving your parents a hard time about the lessons that you have to do, and do your very best, right? And that's all that we have. So make sure you're staying home, staying healthy, and hopefully we can be back to school soon. Let's do our student pledge. I will do the good, I will learn the true, and I will love the beautiful. And I hope you have a great day and a great weekend.